And we are back, and we are ready to play phase two. I guess we'll see where that goes. I hear tell that the second round goes fast, right?
I don't know though. See, Quinn said that, but he also said that this is the first time he's played with all
Yeah.
GMs. I feel like we could rise to the challenge here.
We could definitely make this take longer or shorter as we want to do it. But we'll play it and figure out where we want to go. But I have a feeling that we'll start to fill up this space. We've already filled up with a lot of cool, interesting kind of things. So we'll start to know when answers sort of in my experience, the answers start to settle after a while and be like, oh yeah,
Okay.
I know what you're saying is right.
I straight up started taking notes, so on what everyone was saying.
I did as well. I wasn't at first, and then we get the second round. It's like, no, I got to jot some stuff down on myself so I don't forget. Oh no, now I got to jot other people down too. So.
The stories just start to weave together.
All right, should we get into it?
Cool. So I think we start on me here. So here we go. When was the last time the Queen hurt you? Okay. Well, we're into the penalties phase of this. The last time the Queen hurt me, she didn't mean me. It was basically to her. It was like an offhand, haha comment, right? We've established that it's me who doesn't understand the nature of this relationship, not her. And I was just like, oh yeah, I was. We were sort of talking at some party, and you were sort of on the balcony, and I was just like, one day you're queen. I'm going to give you the world, right? I'm going to give you the most beautiful, amazing thing. And she was just like, oh, you're so funny, right? She's like, you're so funny. You're always kind of dreaming these impossible dreams, right? And she thought it was oh, haha, this is a funny. She thought, I think she might have even thought I was sort of joking or kind of setting up for some con or grift. But it broke my heart. And then a few days later, this plan was born.
Oh, so it sort of set you up in the mindset of, you know what, maybe this will work out okay.
Yeah, she's gonna. If she doesn't take me seriously now, she will when I give her the most. When I it sounds funny to even say. When I go and trade the state secrets of our nation for a gem, she will finally love me. Oh, my character's an idiot.
I have to say, I don't think your character said that sentence out loud.
No.
He feels it deep down.
Yeah. Other follow-ups to that, or?
I want to know if the gem that the sparkly gift that you're going to get for the queen, and just for that sort of anime literalism of is it the world gem, and you're and then 2 days later you hear about this trip to this foreign country, and that they also are hosting this huge sparkly gem, that they call, I don't know, some synonym for the world or whatever, but it's very obvious. Your brain goes,
that's it.
I'm going to get that for her, and all I have to do is go on this trip and give that foreign country the secrets they need to have leverage over the queen. It's fine. It's a good plan. The queen's very smart. She'll totally outmaneuver them. It's not even a problem.
Right. Yeah, this is fine. Next. All right. So Aaron, here's yours.
There is someone else in this retinue you love besides the queen. How and why are you keeping it a secret? Oh,
it'll be interesting to see how that plays with my family's being held hostage by a foreign power.
Yeah, I know. Who else of the group? So either me the swarmy friend who likes to pull cons and heists. We have the merchant advisor, and we have the guard friend. Who would be a good person for the doctor to be in love with? I'm of two minds right now. Either the guard, because since I've been taking care of the family, I've seen the guard so long, so just been comfortable and just grow to love the spunk and the that I keep hearing. Or the swarmy friend who likes to pull con heists. Just because of the doing that triangle bit.
Well, and here's the thought that I have to help or hurt. I don't know. But the cards, the way that they're framed, has already established that the love you have for the queen is not love, because we had a follow-up card of being in love with the queen and not just a love for the queen. So when we say, that you love someone else here, it's not like, again, it doesn't say in love. It's just,
I love someone else. Okay,
so part of me volunteering my character for that would be, of course, I knock him down and you pick him back up again.
Yeah.
I'm the guard that has to take people down, and you're the doctor that patches people back up, because we're not committing war crimes here, okay?
No, we're not. So yeah. But also, this is a secret love that I'm not really showing too, because it's how and why I'm keeping it a secret.
That's true.
So this is something that, okay. Oh, but yeah, no. Yeah, no. I think Jay, your guard probably is the one that I am secretly in love with them, because of how you establish and your position. Again, your position with the queen, that I have full on respect and full on love, because she's not family, but I've been taking care of her family for a while. That I treat her like family. And you are one of the good friends to her that keeps her in her place. And also, I love her because you are protecting the one that I also am protecting, but in a different way. And I don't show it to you, and I actually sometimes when you do take her down, I sometimes say to you, then like, be careful, and I'm thinking you're not being kind to the queen and all that, and I project to you, even though secretly I like that you're doing that, because I don't want to show favoritism that in the situation. That's why I'm keeping it a secret.
Sure, and I'm sure your position is, as established, more precarious, because it seems like, from my perspective, that the queen doesn't really even pay a lot of attention to you. So, like me, who's in constant, like, in-your-face direct conflict with the queen, very obviously very secure in my relationship and how close I am to her. And, like, I'm not going anywhere. But if you were to agree with me out loud, that could put you in jeopardy in a way that it doesn't put me in jeopardy. So I dig it.
Sure.
I like it.
Any follow-up questions for people?
I have an aside that one of the things I like about this character building stuff is it's actually stuff that I don't get into as much with, say, like the D&D game, because a lot of times, one, I'm creating NPCs on the fly. I'm like, I don't know, it's some guy, let me click the random NPC button. And two, a lot of the delicacies of these motivations don't necessarily come out, because it's, a 2-minute interaction that they're having with a character, and then they're moving on with what they need to do. Mm-hmm. So it's actually extra fun for me to develop these interpersonal relationships in a way that I don't get to flex on as much in the D&D game because it's not worth the effort.
Yeah, and the other sort of quick animation there is that it's like I've done this a few times. Like some of the characters that we build, like that build in the for the Queen there. Like I like then port them like, oh, this is an interesting character. Like rub the sort of file the serial number off it and then use it in another game.
Oh, they're all absolutely going somewhere. Every last one of you. I hope you're happy. You've now invented entire people that I'm going to use. So.
Excellent. Provide.
So no more follow-ups to that. We go to the next. Here we go.
There you go.
And
Oh, well, I mean, to some degree, I feel like we've already answered some of this question, right? We grew up together and we were childhood friends.
read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. So it says, why do you think the Queen trusts you enough to bring you on this journey? So yeah, I think because we were childhood friends, there's an inherent trust that we have. I think maybe she knows that my family has mercantile relationships with the country where we're going as well. And she's hoping that I can provide that sort of bridging the gap sort of situation, in the discussions.
So to sort of bring you kind of to like in the sort of especially for the handshake, meet and greet, kind of smooth things out.
Like clearly both parties have relationships with my family and with our businesses, but she thinks that, at the same time, like I'm definitely going to lean on her side of the things because we're friends.
Even though you have in the past voiced your sort of diplomatically your opinion about the war.
I have somewhat subtly, not subtly, at least I think it's been subtle, maybe it hasn't, voiced my support for, or at least taken positions that were clearly not designed to establish peace. So.
What a nice way to put that. You were promoting interests other than the, create peaceful harmony due to your interests.
Oh no, there were perfectly good logical reasons that benefit the Queen and the kingdom entirely.
Instead of letting her go directly to peace, you maybe let her down peace adjacent.
Yeah, like let's keep the tensions.
We need to take some baby steps here. Like we can't just go full throttle into peace because people need time to adjust to that.
If we're not killing each other, that's fine. But let's keep this arms race going. Like we need to make sure that we're ready just in case.
We're ready. Jesus H. McGillicuddy. All right.
How do you feel of the fact that she puts all that trust for you to make those links using your family on this journey?
I think I'm a little uncomfortable with it. I think the fact that, like, there was already this tension that I'm feeling between my loyalty to my family's interests and my friendship with the Queen. And I feel like she is putting me in a situation that's making that, like, just really pulling at that tension, like it's outright like, hey, I'm going to bring you because you're my friend and because you have this family. And I'm like, yeah, but those are the things I'm trying not to mix together. What are you doing?
Thanks. Any other follow-ups on that? Or are we next?
Good for next.
Okay, let's go for it. This is going to be good.
Ruh-roh.
This is like the opposite of the last question.
Oh, God.
So what does it say?
I'm thinking about it. Hold on. It says, what do you do? So my last question is, what do you do for the Queen that no one else can do? And then this one is, what do you do for the Queen that anyone else can do? And why does she make You do it. And again, just to fall back on already, because we've already basically asked like a bunch of follow-up questions that sort of previously answered that, is that she has advisors. Look at these people that she's traveling with right now. She's got arms merchant guy who knows things. She has her jackass. I'm sorry, her black market consultant. I'm not sure where to go with that. But anyway, she has this other guy who, is actually interested in what she's doing and interested in the politics and the intrigue. I mean, look at, like, he's always asking these really incisive questions, especially around anything to do with state secrets. We're just going to push that one aside there. Anyway, and then there's the doctor, who is always extremely kind and helpful and supportive, even if he's a little quiet, but he's definitely there. Like, she has all of these people, not to mention, all of the other people back at court who want to be involved in politics and intrigue and international relations, and she keeps harassing me about it. Why does she make me do it?
And why does she do it?
Because she's a bitch. No, I'm sorry, that's my character's internal particular assessment of that situation. I mean, again, as previously established, because she thinks that I could be better than any of these people that she is surrounded with herself with, just because my interests don't stem from these complicated interpersonal political things. I'm not interested in, accruing more wealth necessarily. I'm a person who's pretty satisfied with what they have, as long as they got food in their belly and a place to sleep at night. So, and that kind of grounded perspective could be extremely valuable in terms of trying to broker peace, but I don't want to. So. Any follow-up questions?
I'm good.
I'm good on that one.
Good, great. Yeah, I'm glad the fact that I can talk for 800 years means nobody has any questions. Good. I'm so good at this.
Okay, and mine. The Queen sometimes shows interest in your personal life. How do you respond to that, and why? Honestly, this is like the only time I get like shy and sort of clam out. Like, she has to pry it out of me, because like when she's asking me about my personal life, like, oh, so like, have you, she'll ask me about like, romantic interest and, but also like kind of like, oh, so what were you doing with such and such? She'll ask me about sort of like business deal, and she wants out of me, I can tell what she wants out of me is, more just kind of story she can laugh to, kind of like, and then you like, went and like sold this to this guy, but then actually he bought this thing. That's so funny. That's so clever, right? Like, she doesn't take me seriously. So like, I'm like kind of like her personal court gesture, and like my personal life is kind of like when she asks me stuff about personal things, I don't want to tell her, because I don't want it to be, I don't want it to be sort of a game or sport.
Is it?
I want to take me seriously.
Is it? Part of me wonders if her interest in your personal life, does that feed sort of your delusion that she's interested in you?
A bit. We it's funny for someone who there's clearly nothing going to happen with. We spend a lot of time talking and stuff like that. I think, unbeknownst to my character, I think part of why she keeps me around. I think the Queen's really shrewd, and she basically uses me as a corruption canary in the coal mine. Right? And so, like, I'm out there, like, trading and, like, going on all these things. And she's like, oh, tell me more about that. Oh, and who were you talking to? Like, cool, right? And then, like, sometime later, she's like, locked this guy up, right? She makes there enough space so people don't associate it with me.
Right.
But she uses me to root out corruption in her own kingdom.
Well, part of me thinks that at this point in your career and relationship, like her attitude is probably something to the effect of like, well, I can't let him go because if I do, he'll become like the worst criminal mastermind in the realm, right? Like he's too dangerous and he knows too much now, so I better keep him close, you know?
Right. Yeah, and that she's sort of like it's like use a thief to catch a thief.
Right.
Right. And it was and so she just sort of like dips me in there and like it's like great, and then we just talk and it's like a casual conversation, right? And like there's a way in that I'm like in terms of what she wants to do, sort of keep a clean, sort of upright kingdom or queendom. Sorry, ruling land. It all works, right? Like this is perfect, but like I just kind of hate doing it. It feels her questions are sort of clinical.
Mm-hmm.
I, and the
Like she's basically treating you like you're there for her consumption rather than an actual person that she's trying to take care of. So here's the plot twist for you, Quinn. Totally unprompted. Nobody asked for this, but I'm giving it to you anyway. Because in the past 2 days you became so obsessed with proving to her that you're serious, okay? You actually missed all the clues about the ambush. Normally you would have been keyed into that. Somebody would have been coming to you to tell you about that or to ask you about it or, if you wanted in on it or something. And because you got so preoccupied with the pursuit of collecting the information that you needed to give away so that you could get this MacGuffin to prove to her that you're serious, you missed all the signs of the ambush that's going to come up. So the very thing that she used you for, because you fell in love with her, she got
chef
gift.
tip. Yes, that's beautiful. I love that.
That's for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Any other follow-ups?
That's how I know you're not a player. Here's some emotional heartbreak, and you're like, yay! There's the GM right there. No, I'm good.
I'm good too.
Okay. Next one coming up. Here.
Queen trusts you, but no one else in the royal court does. Why?
This should have been
God.
Quint. It was obvious.
Well, that's why he's the obvious one.
Yeah.
I mean, but yes. The queen trusts me because I was been with the family and all that, but the royal court doesn't really trust me because I've been there and was brought in with the previous court, the previous queen's court and family, and thus they assume that I have underlying loyalties that them being the new court for this queen's court, that they're not controlling. So that's basically, I'm part of the old guard, and they're the new guard, and they're like, okay, we don't know where you are. Yes, the queen trusts you because you've been there when you saw her grow up, but we don't.
You're kind of a legacy appointment.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other follow-ups to that one? Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, good with that one.
Yeah.
I think the other reason that there's less follow-up questions is because we've all established a lot of our own character at this point. So now when someone answers a question, it's less trying to establish my character and your character and how we relate in the world, and more just like absorbing the new information and fitting it in with how I already feel about your character, which is less of an interactive activity.
Right.
I mean,
That's what I was talking about when I said like answers start.
Right.
They start getting in that. So like you establish like context, and then you get like a certain level of context that the answers then fall into. So yeah, so agreeing basically.
Yep, absolutely. So my question is, what do you do that pleases the queen on this journey? Wow, there's a lot of these questions that could go into a particular way, doesn't it? Man, teenage me would have.
The cards are very well established. They're good for that.
Yeah, teenage me would have been having a very different experience with this game. I think we play a game. I think we start when we were childhood friends and we would like escape the parties in the court and whatever as children. We would always get together and play some sort of game with like a backgammon type of thing. And I think that's part of what I bring to her in this situation is that when she needs some time to not be thinking about her responsibilities and the pressures that she's under, she calls me in and we just sort of hang out and reminisce and play these games, and it gives her a chance to sort of unwind and not argue with anybody like she does with certain guards and that kind of thing. So
I think the game you play is called For the Queen, and here's how you play it. Actually, no. My first thought that I had was it was a Netflix show. I think it was like This Is Not Okay or something like that. Wild show. Absolutely enjoyed it. But at one point in the beginning of the show, one of the characters is playing a game they called Serious Questions, and the character's a little kid and they're in the car with their family. Oh no, that wasn't This Is Not Okay. That was Lock and Key.
Oh,
so the
yes.
the littlest kid character is playing a game called Serious Questions, and it's basically just asking like what if questions, and you have to answer like seriously. And I introduced that to my 5-year-old, and of course they've had a blast with it too. So I just imagine like a similar version of that game where you're like, all right, serious question, and then you ask the queen something just fucking batshit ridiculous, and she has to like try not to laugh and actually answer or whatever, like something that's easy. It doesn't require a bunch of pieces that you have to carry on the road. You can just out of nowhere start playing it.
Is it that sort of party game, or is it, as you said, a more backgammon set? And if it is a backgammon set, is it set that the game that you're bringing, is it the same when you were playing when you were a kid that you're rocked?
I think it is. I think it's both kinds of games. I think we play the backgammon type game, and it's a nice small board. It is the one that we played with as kids, and the pieces are all like carved to look like sort of silly animals and that kind of stuff. But it packs up real small. You can kind of stick it in a pouch and carry it around pretty easily. But it's the same set, and we play this game, but part of the nostalgia piece, part of the goofiness of it isn't just that we're playing a game. The game is just sort of what we do to occupy ourselves, but then we're also doing this sort of party game, sort of serious question style conversation as we play the game. So we're kind of occupying our minds with two things at once, which really helps sort of clear it of all of the extra pressures and stresses in our lives.
I love it. That is only something a nerdy-ass gamer would say, by the way. Like, oh, let's play a weird, complicated board game with an extra layer of board game on top of it to relax. But,
Absolutely.
Boy, we are who we are. That's okay.
The ultimate nerd cascade.
Yeah.
We good?
Yep.
All right. And Jay.
Yeah. What brings out the queen's kindness? Well, it's not. No, I'm going to bring that back around. It is me. And, again, for all of our arguments and screaming and, like, absolute stubborn and butt-headedness and everything like that, and the reason that she wants me to be this advisor for her is because that's what I bring to the table for her, is that the people who are, interested more in economics and big picture stuff and tend to lose sight of the fact that these are like real people that she is ruling over and that she is deciding the lives and deaths of. If say, I don't know, like a pandemic hit the country, how she responds to that is the difference between, thousands of lives lost or saved. And it could be really easy to fall into these abstractions, like of war and peace and politics and everything like that. And I think one of the reasons she keeps me around is that I'm the person that grounds her and brings out the fact that no, like I said, we're not committing war crimes here. Like these are people, and you can't be cavalier with their lives.
Well, some of us aren't committing war crimes. Quinn.
I don't know what you're talking about. But
At
that's what I
least
do.
2 of us are.
Yeah.
Well, no, wait,
Well,
Doctor's
yeah.
totally committing war
Yeah.
crimes.
And
Whoops.
to bring it back to appreciation, I think that's also part of the why that my character, the Doctor, loves the Guard. Because I see those elements that I probably remember when the Queen was young and before she got all the pressures of ruling. And you bring that out.
Oh, I love that. I don't love that, but I love your idea.
Back out, and you remind her of how she was.
Okay.
By-
No,
by-
I did that. Back before she was the capital Q queen, right? Yeah. I think it.
Okay. We
Yeah.
good?
Yep.
All right. So here is
Oh.
me. What makes a queen beautiful in your eyes?
Ruh-roh.
Dun, 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 dun. I think what makes her beautiful in my eyes is
It's that fierce expression on her face on the
Well,
card.
well, that's the thing. It was so my character is really good at manipulating people and sort of conning them, and like he gets people to move through sort of charm and deception, right? And she'll like move and to act from like her force of will and her own sort of true, like she is like she has like really, as far as he understands, like noticing. Now there's a kind of thing where he'll be like you could say there's a little deception in how she handles like my character there technically, right? But it's mostly me being blind to it. But she's like pretty much forthright and still gets she gets what she wants by walking through the front door instead of through the back door, like I preferably I get someone else to open at the back.
So,
Go ahead, Jay.
does your character know? Does your character know if that's life goals or wife goals? Like, are they clear on whether or not that's because they want to be with that person or do they want to be that person?
Like what? That I want to be the person that
walks through the front door and doesn't have to do all this backdoor stuff. I mean, the answer is no. If you want that to be,
no. I think he just admires it. He doesn't mean kind of something that he could do, but he finds it beautiful about the queen that she sort of does that,
and is still able to get what she wants. I think the queen is
right. You know, like if she was just being run over by it, he wouldn't like it.
Well, and I think part of what makes the queen so shrewd and what makes your characters what feeds into that your character's inability to sort of read the situation is I think she's also able to manipulate and go in through the back door, so to speak.
Right.
But does it in a way very different than you recognize. Like she's manipulating you
right.
and she's manipulating everybody else. Like the idea in my mind at this point that the queen doesn't know all of the shenanigans that we're up to is ridiculous. Like she clearly knows it all and she's playing us, So
right. Well, the thing is, I think, and I super agree with what you're saying, and I think like even just to go like further with it is like I think, and a lot of other people around her think that kind of like, well, she's truthful and she's sort of honest, right? And so like we think that sort of like, well, since she's truthful and honest, she's showing us the full truth and honesty, but you can actually use truth as its own weapon and its own deception because you don't have to show. She doesn't show any of us her whole truth.
Right.
She just shows us part we want to see, and we're like, oh wow, and she's just been so open about it. So that there must be no guile, but she's just showing us all different parts of the same gem and getting us to sort of move.
Although I think the exception may be Jay's character. I think maybe Jay's character does get the whole truth, and she just doesn't want it. So. I don't know. Jay, you with us?
Okay.
I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
It stopped loving me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's happened to me before. So, cool. Any follow-ups on that?
No, I'm good.
Okay. And this one. Oh, this is going to be good.
Who is this distant power you're traveling to, and why do they make you uneasy?
Well, I mean, I feel like second half of that question is.
Yeah, the second half we answered because they make it uneasy because they have my family being held. So that is. But who are they? That is. It is the fourth power. It is a power that been a war, a rather brutal war that had been losses on both sides. And I will add a bit to why they are making things other than just a family, is that through the war, being a doctor, I have seen the bodies, I have seen the damage that has been caused during the war, and it's frankly sickens me of actions have been done, which some of them I even question if they were really maybe possible war crime, but I'm not in a position to be able to even judge on that. I may comment on it when I see some of the bodies, but basically that's what they're making them to them. Well, because
I can't go any further. Eric's character made me too sad, so I'm quitting.
Sorry.
No, I love it. No, it's just that whole. The classic quote, "War is hell," or "War isn't hell" because there aren't innocent bystanders in hell. If we want to go with the MASH version, but just that like just thinking about what your doctor has seen in that context and just how traumatized he has to have been, and if it's been a long or a brutal war with a lot of casualties on each side, talking World War I levels of PTSD, like just nasty. So like it just had a real moment of actual grief for your character there.
Any other follow-ups on that? All right. We'll move to the next one. And here.
You saw the queen do something terrible to keep the retinue safe. What was it? Did you come to respect her more or less afterward? So, here's what I think happened. I think there was a situation where the queen was approached by agents of a sort of a shady organization, and I advised her to make a deal with them, like to get in bed with this sort of criminal organization, to pay them off to whatever, because they were threatening. Maybe they were threatening the very ambush that Eric's character is going to plan and do anyway. And I convinced her to get on board with it for the safety of everybody else, so that we wouldn't be attacked. And I kind of lost respect for her for caving to my my shady advice, right? I felt like she was morally strong enough to withstand that.
You're just like, I'm gonna float this option, you're gonna pass it down, and then we're gonna move on. And then she was like, sure.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like, no.
Yeah.
That wasn't supposed to work.
Right.
At all.
No, well, intellectually, I wanted her to take my advice, but like in my heart, I kind of wanted her to be better than me. I wanted her to make the moral choice, and she didn't.
Here's what I love about this is that, like, again, your GM is showing, because I have had that happen with players. Like at the table, where you're like, okay, I've set up this situation. Here's a questionable solution to the problem, but I'm gonna leave it open-ended, and hopefully they'll take the high road. And then they don't, and you're like, oh,
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel it. Yeah.
Okay. Any other follow-ups? All right. Next one. There you go.
Well.
I mean.
Yeah, but. Yeah, no. That's the thing. Is it really appropriate for your character too? So.
I saved the queen's life once. So the perverse little goblin in me wants it to be something actually unrelated to being her guard. Like, it'd be really easy to say, like, well, I mean, she's under threat all the time, and I thwarted an assassination attempt, end of story, kind of how it is. All it did was, well, see, now I'm into it, because all it did basically was pump up my swagger and make me feel even more self-righteous, so when she floats terrible, stupid ideas, I feel even more justified in telling her that they're fucking really bad. And
can I have? I have one. I want to float out.
Just go ahead.
Okay.
I know you're dying. Go for it.
What if the saved life was like a bad kind of like, she was gonna sort of to broker a peace, like go into like a marriage with like a bad king or something, and you got her out of like you realized.
No. I did have a similar thought to that, but I was going to make it way more personal, because I want to say, like, maybe when she met you and she was like, hey,
Ooh.
I met this guy, and he's not really like, he's not like, she's just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, like she was like, I don't know, I think I feel like I could kind of go for him, and I was like, no. It's just like,
your reason she doesn't. Oh,
take
that's
you seriously.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. I didn't take you seriously, and I got into a yelling match about her and appropriate choices and whatever. But even though she didn't on the surface listen to me, because we don't have that kind of relationship, she still kind of internalized it. Reevaluated, decided the whole time that she wasn't actually interested in you. It was just a little crush.
Oh, brutal, like perfect. Yes.
But and how did that save her life? Because it meant that she invested herself into her queenly duties and brokering this peace and moving forward. So rather than abandoning her life and her country to pursue some schmo, she did what she needed to do.
I'm not just some schmo.
I mean,
I am. But I mean, I'm a royal schmo now.
You're a royal schmo now. Again, so there's the meta narrative, and then there's my character's perspective, and I'm hoping you're able to tell the difference between.
Yeah, of course. No. I love it. It's perfect. I purposely made this character. I really like making hot mess characters for these games. So this is good.
As soon as the card came up that told me that I love the queen, I went, no, I don't, and I'm like, well, there's my establishment. Right there. So, before we even got into the character development cards, I was already like,
nice.
Okay. So I'm going to go to this one. All right. Oh, this is interesting. What do you usually do for the royal family, and why does that make you an unlikely choice for this journey? So, on the surface, So my actual job is I run like I basically like run the kingdom's like postal service.
Okay.
Right.
Of course.
And so like you know like there have been probably like a bunch of folks who were like, why are you here? Right. Like you brought like like the mail on there, but also being head of the postal service is what makes me like so perfect at my grifts and cons.
So
Right.
great. Now you're the Royal Schmo Master General. All right.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but it's actually, but because of that, it actually makes me actually wonder why like I would have suspected out of anything that I wouldn't be here. Right, like I feel like the queen's up to date on all my latest like kind of like cons and stuff, and she knows what she knows what she needs to know. So I'm just like kind of like, why am I here? But like when I found out, I was like, okay, this is perfect because now I can just like it was like I didn't know who I was gonna trust to sell the like to like I wouldn't like I didn't know who in my postal service I was gonna have this sent to. So it was like, oh well, I'll deliver the packages myself.
I love it. And now I'm imagining you doing this heist where you end up mailing yourself the gem back home. Like, that's what gets out
Right,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
country.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Any other follow-ups? Okay. Next. And here we go.
Queen is someone you love. Ooh, what happened? Oh dear God. Ugh.
Could you be more tragic?
It's oh dear God. This is. She's responsible for the death of someone I love. Who and what the hell happened? I'm thinking it's related to the war itself. What's
Do you have any other sort of family or something
Yes.
maybe on the other side of the war?
well? I'm actually making it related to the war itself. My son was a leader of an army regiment, and all that, and she sent their regiment in a battle which I had heard through the grapevines that this was more of a distraction. The chance of survival were low, but this was an important battle just to place for some other success. So basically, this was literally a suicide mission that was being sent out. And thus my son was the army through the war passed.
I'm super excited because I have two comments. I have several like expansions on that. One, we've talked about me bringing humanity to the queen, and I think this is one of the moments where I didn't manage to like win the argument. So she did that with me going like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I think when I heard that your son was killed, I think I went and basically took you out for drinks or something like that to commiserate. And that's one of those moments of connection between our characters where we got, I don't know if we're close, or what your secret like love for me bloomed. I think that's also the reason that you didn't tell the queen about the ambush, because you don't trust her to not make a strategic opinion or a decision on that.
Yeah, no.
You're like, she might just decide she's already sacrificed part of my family. Why not the rest of it?
Right now, because as I said, my last real character I saw was when her passed away. But now there's this where she said also. I mean, even though I love and I've seen her and seen her grow up, and I sort of see myself. My doctor is sort of like a sort of parental figure, or seeing the queen as sort of his kid that he's taking care and wants her to bless him, but she's making decisions that he doesn't quite agree with. Like sometimes parents with their children happens, and thus his opinion of her, while he loves her, is still getting conflict, and now so that's why this now that his family has also been challenged and it's to challenge the queen. That's why he was basically sort of accepting this past deal situation. So he's in conflict with the queen. Knowing where this is ending right now, I'm in the position that I'm not too sure if I will defend her. So, but
Dang.
we'll see. We shall see. Maybe that change stuff can also change.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So
Next one. Here we go. Gosh.
What makes the queen ugly in your eyes? I think kind of related to the conversation we had on my last card, right? I think there's a I want the queen to be that forthright, honest, sort of innocent child that I grew up with. Who, she was fierce and independent and loyal and all those things. But as I've seen her grow as a queen, I've seen that manipulative side. I've seen the way she's playing Quinn's character. I've seen the way that she is more shrewd and more manipulative than she lets on, and that she's willing to make those sort of backroom deals, like the one that we described last time. And I think I want her to not be that, right? I'm surrounded by that in my family, and I want her to be sort of this shining beacon on a hill, but I know that she's not all the time, and that's an ugly side of her.
I have a follow-up in terms of just because we haven't really touched it. So, like, you've seen her play my character out. Like, what relationship do our characters have? Like, do we talk or communicate at all? Do I do stuff for your family?
I think you might have a relationship with my family. Like, they might be part of some of your cons and grifts. But because I tend to keep myself out of the family loop, that you and I we're familiar, but we're not close. We don't necessarily work together on it. Like, I might in the back of my head know that there's something going on there, but I kind of stay out of it, and don't actually know the details of what you're doing with them.
is this journey the first time that both of you have been working together for a long time, consecutively? Like, you work side, but not really. But is this the first time you guys are really just together? And
Probably. I think that makes sense to me. Quinn?
Yeah, I think. Or I think. Yeah. This is the first time we've been working close, but I think. I think my character actually might be jealous of your character because you're another person. You're the only other person on here who's kind of friend
Right.
with the queen, and you get along, and she seemed I think I see you from the side, and when you're playing the game and playing and then the serious question that you're just having this easy thing. She's not grilling you for find the tawdry details of your life. You're actually sort of talking to her as equal. She seems to take you seriously in a way that she doesn't take me there, and I'm just like that.
Right. Agreed. Do you have a sense of how many cards are left in the deck? Does it tell you that? Okay. So one way or the other, we're getting close to wrapping it. Okay. Okay. But we're to the point now where the last question could be any card now. Okay. Oh. We can do that. I'm not going to stop the recording, but I can pause it just because I think if we're close to the end, I don't want to have like a 1 hour section and then like a 10-minute section. So, so let me do that. We're recording over here. Oh, there used to be a way to pause it. I might have lost the ability to pause when they updated the software. Either way, I'll... People can see us on the stream, so at least they're not just staring at a blank or an unmoving screen while we wait. Jay was having technology issues for those people watching the video either live with us or later. But they've got things working back up, and they're going to be on Roll20 shortly, and we'll get to her, or their turn, sorry.
It's all good. It's just, I can't believe I can't even hard reset my tab. That's upsetting. All right. Almost.
I'm used to seeing Quinn on his couch when he streams with us. That looks like you're sitting at the kitchen table or something today.
Yeah, I'm sitting in a dining
There
room
you go.
table.
All right, Quinn, we got you back on Roll20 now, I think.
Okay. Cool. Actually, Jay, the question that's up there right now is yours.
Oh.
I don't have any questions on mine because I just logged back in.
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, that would be super.
Okay. The queen lights a fire in you. What is it?
So, the queen thinks that I can be better than I am, and the actual dynamic of our relationship is I think the same thing of her, and we both have a very different idea of what better means. So, not a very different, but a different idea of what better means. And so that's really that source of stubbornness and conflict, is because we both think that we are fighting about the same thing when really we're having two different fights at the same time. Where she wants me to be better in the context of being more well-rounded and more educated and more, I guess, royal from her context. And I just want her to be a better human, like individual human being. Like, you're not like this all-knowing, all-seeing, godlike whatever thing that this role that you tend to step into. That's not who you are, and it's bullshit when you flex on that to act like that makes you some kind of authority. And I need you to be better than that, and she needs me to be better than I am, and then conflict happens.
So even about the scene of, like, she wants you to be like a full-on advisor or something like that, but like, what if it's actually, and what if maybe even on this trip she posits something even sort of beyond that, where like the queen wants you to be maybe a co-ruler?
I don't think it's quite like that. Or if it is, I can't even conceive of that, because that is so far and beyond anything that would remotely be possible, just due to the way the society is structured. Like, ridiculous.
And I think because you talked about her like flexing on her authority and that kind of stuff. Like, she's got this image in her head that she's this total badass, and you're not really on board with that's who she should be. And I'm thinking that, and I'm hearing you, and then I'm looking at the picture we have in front of us of the queen, and I'm like, that is probably like her official royal portrait that she had made, depicting her as this total badass, and you're like, are you kidding me? Stop being ridiculous.
Yeah, she had that portrait commissioned, and I was like, who dat? And she's like, it's me. And I am like, no, seriously? Why? And it's one of those things where, like, I think she got pissed at me by that one, because I probably made some reference to like something stupid she did as a kid, like something like climbing trees and skinned knees kind of a deal, where it's like this is who you think you are, not the person that I had to pick up and carry home, because she was so distraught over finding a cute baby deer in the forest that they couldn't manage to walk out of the woods on their own two legs. Like, that, this really, you think that's the same person? Like, and she's like, you know what, fuck you. Right. And I'm like, yeah, well, sounds great. Not sounds great. I'm sorry, that sounded dirty. I'd be like, whatever, lady,
Yeah.
So.
Any other follow-ups? All right, going to the next. And the queen is under attack. You defender. I guess I will start since I drew it, but we all answer this one.
Yep.
for
These
herself.
cards aren't showing up for me at all since I joined. Hold on, let me see if I'm just not centered correctly. It might be it. Yep, there it is. Yep, that's all. I just needed to zoom out. All right, I got it. I found the cards. I'm so excited for me. Yikes.
So yeah. So I think how this starts too is sort of, so I'm master of post, right? And so in part of being master of post, you know, I have this ridiculous royal postal outfit on, and I have like sort of royal porters and like sort of postal workers. Some you know, some of whom I've given the sort of state, you know, secret things to, and you know, I had to hire, you know, we brought like a pretty large contingent because we're bringing all these kind of like gifts and stuff like that. This is big display.
Plus, you have to have the fake MacGuffin to swap out for the real MacGuffin that you're going to make. Like, there's a whole thing, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So I like overbrought. I was like, oh, let like, you know, Your Highness, let's like display our finest, you know, things that our kingdom has to offer, and one of our best things is our postal service, right? None of these other kingdoms have anything so advanced. So like we've got like, you know, like a couple dozen of these folks, and in display. But to get these things, we actually like didn't have I actually couldn't bring that many actual posts because they actually have to do real work back at home.
Job. Yeah.
So I had to hire a bunch of kind of like temps, basically, who are
Ambush, aren't they?
who ended up being the people in the ambush. Totally got by me. Should have checked their backgrounds a little bit more.
Is he thinking about your plot?
Yeah. And so they, you know, come through and they go to attack the queen, and I do defend the queen. I finally want her to take me seriously, and I get in the way of some of these attackers, and like I'm the first one cut down.
I finally take you seriously now too.
I'm dead. And I'll pass it to Eric.
Yep. Well, since they had my family, there was needed a medical checkup for anyone who was going to be part of the escorts, and I took responsibility because I was asked by the people who were holding my family to do so, and thus the medical check and medical background. And I actually saw the people that were being replaced for, so I knew that the people were close. They were, but those not. But also, the queen that is there, that is current, the new image that she's placed in is not the one that I grew up with, and that the queen that I was hoping that she would become. She chose to become a more aggressive and more flamboyant and fiercer queen than what I remember when she was a young child, and what would honor her mother also. And thus,
No wonder no one trusts you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And thus, no. But there's also the conflict, the fact that I've seen all the terrors of this war, and thus this peace would stop, and the people who are doing it want to continue the war. So there's that conflict in my mind, but still, no, he doesn't defend her. He doesn't. Yes, he let them in, and but I'm sort of thinking that he doesn't defend her, he doesn't harm her. I'm not sure what her final fate will be, but he will try to position and actually help out the guard, the J-Dots, to be able to make sure that the guard is safe at the end. Then we'll see where
that goes.
J-Dot's guard is, see how that goes, but that's one thing that. But yeah, no, he doesn't. He won't defend her.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go next then. I think the attack actually happened while the Queen and I were in the middle of one of our games. And so I was very close to the focal point. And so while Quinn's character was sort of on the outside and saw it happening as it was starting and ended up getting defending her then, I was there when the assassins sort of rushed in to slay her, and I recognized them. They are people that are associated with my family. Like, I've been around these people before. I know them by name. I know their families and their kids. And so I like interposed myself between the Queen and them to try to talk them out of it. And they clearly like know that I probably shouldn't be hurt. They don't want me to be killed, but they also know that they have a job to do, and so they go into the attack against the Queen anyway, and I'm killed in the crossfire defending the Queen. And so you end up with this tragic situation where my own family slays me in the middle of this attack because I got caught in the crossfire.
He's so tragic, and I'm over here like, of course I defend her. I've been carrying this bitch ass her whole fucking life. Why would I change now? Like, what? Yes, I defend her. I get up, and I'm like, and of course, like, complaining the whole time, like, this is why I said this was a stupid idea. Hey, remember that? Remember when we were having the argument about this? And I was like, this is a terrible and stupid idea, and you shouldn't do it because it's bad, and you're bad for thinking of it. Guess what? You suck. This sucks. These guys especially suck, like, as I'm stabbing as many people as I possibly can. I think my assumption about the doctor, because even though he's used to seeing violence, he is not a violent person himself. So I think my assessment of him in the moment is he's one of those people that freezes up in the face of, like, aggression. Because he's always been so quiet and kind of like, he doesn't really seem like the kind of person who, like, would fight back. More of a flight than a fight person. So, like, yeah. I don't even think anything of him, the fact that he's not stepping in. Quinn's character basically is the first person to notice when his own retinue starts turning, like, draws swords, and he turns around and goes, like, everything, I think, for him clicks all at once, that he was distracted, that these are assassins, that these aren't his usual people. Like, you could see, like, everything fall into place in his head, and he, like, grabs one of them to be like, what are you doing? Stop. Immediately gets stabbed. I see that happen, and I'm like, yeah, that seems about right. And some of the some of the assassins get past me, or at least one does, because you're in the carriage with the Queen. So, for you to come out and be like, yo, what are you doing? Stop this nonsense right now. Go home to your family. This is not right. And then for them to cut you down as well. So then it's just me standing between my Queen and the 2 or 3 assassins that are left. I'll give it that. And I like cliffhanger endings, so I would just leave it right there and leave it open-ended myself.
Beautiful. And that's the
that's
game.
For the Queen.
That's for the Queen. So, so thanks everyone for playing. This was a really cool. I said again, like I said, sort of before. It's interesting doing this with like 4 GMs, right? And then sort of like like the sort of world building that kind of happened actually in the front stage of it. Sort of said a lot of the things, and then it sort of, there's this nice, where we still were surprises and sort of different interplay. Things started to kind of move. Like I feel like if the ending that we got to felt like inevitable, right?
Yeah,
because
right.
all of these great things were established before that, so it was fun.
And having the group also, when we were world building and we're working itself, we were getting so many different ideas, and it adds much more dimension of who the Queen turned out to be. That she was not just this one individual with one idea, but she ended up to being this person who thinks that she's much more fiercer than she is, when she was kind and all that. But it was so the queen was the fifth character that was being developed among all those characters.
Yeah, that was really interesting too. To way because when I first had my initial you love the queen, and I was like, right, and I sorry, I'm gonna put my microphone down. So I had that initial no, I don't, and I kind of had this bratty little sister feeling. But as we kind of established characters, I think it came out that I must have been, because when I was I grew up and was raised to guard the queen. I imagined us again more of the same age, but I think you imagined me older so that I could be an appropriate bodyguard. Instead of being trained at the same time that she was, which was fine. I just adapted to that because I'm it works for me either way. I'm perfectly happy. So I still ended up with this, but it changed the dynamic for me because now I'm older than her, but acting like a bratty younger sister towards her. How does that function? But it was an interesting development just for me to see the way that your assumptions about my character informed my character, what I accept, what I reject, what I have to look at, and what I'm oh no, that seems about right.
Right.
I switched back to my good computer. I'm sorry. The one I had to use in the meantime is my oldest, ugliest, meanest computer. So.
Yeah, no, I think I think a lot of what we talked about in the discussion at the end of the first part still holds true. I think this would be a great game for somebody who's hey, I'm kind of thinking about picking up game mastering and I'm not quite sure where to start. And a lot of times you'll see people discussing this advice online, and a lot of it's oh, you have to, people are always really worried about the rules, and some people will outright tell people, oh, you need to learn the rules so you can adjudicate things really well or whatever. And in my mind, the training that this game puts you through is way more important than the rules piece, right? Because this is the flexibility and the creativity and being able to sort of go with something and build character, build world, build stories. I think this game is also my go-to now of hey, how do I become a dungeon master? And I'll be well, first thing you want to do is go play several rounds of For the Queen to build up those chops, because I think it'd be a great way to do that.
Yeah, build those muscles. Sorry, go on, Eric.
Yeah, another skill that it adds to it is also it is good for game masters is the listening to all the stories and be able to absorb them and to be able to try to weave them and put yourself into the story. So that's another thing that add to it.
Yeah,
yeah, and going along with that sort of notion on the sort of world building stuff, there's actually sort of some interesting things that you can do with this. One I did a little while ago was that ended up being really great was I call it The Queen is Dead, and where I actually played for the Queen. And then what we did was Vincent Baker has this game, The King is Dead, which is kind of this Game of Thrones thing of royalty and stuff. And then I sort of set it in that world. So we actually looked at some of the world stuff from that game and sort of preceded this game for the Queen. And then the events in the For the Queen thing became the starting incident for that other game. So we rolled, played the games right one after the other. So it was oh, here's all the stuff that happened to the Queen. And then that sort of, just like a Game of Thrones, kind of starts with, I guess the main event sort of starts when, whatchamacallit, you could use a few things, but Robert Baratheon, there's some starting incident, and then we start there, and we played another game, and you can similarly use this to seed a world building for some other game that you're going to play. You could, you could easily maybe tweak some of the
Mm-hmm.
One gun. You have two guns and only one bullet, and thus you choose among the people playing who you're going to shoot and who you're not going to shoot,
Right.
and you reveal and then you resolve how this plays out, who comes out alive. So,
Like you can replace like it. Yeah, like the nice thing about For the Queen is obviously it's a game, but it's also a format. They actually have a card game, and like you can like license it like a Descended from the Queen game. Even if you just made your own, you could use this for your game. You could take a smaller version of it, and you wanted to sort of seed, have like use it almost as a cold. I guess is a better way to sort of put it from what I did. And if you wanted to lead it with a in Forgotten Realms, like something happens to Elminster or something, right? Like you'd be like, Elminster is under attack. Do you help, and establish the character's relationship with him? I'm just picking the one character who looked at my mind from there, but like this other one.
Yeah, no, I actually partway through this game, I thought to myself, this might be a really fun way to start a campaign, like because it kind of tells the stories of how these four characters came together. Like now we've got a party. And then what happens if, like, say, we're the only survivors of the attack against the Queen, and now the campaign starts, right?
We don't have because two of our characters totally died. So
that's
you just need to roll up new characters immediately.
That's what I was going to say.
There is raised dead.
Right, and part of what I was going to say is that I think that in my head I got to the point where I'm like, this could work really well as the beginning of a campaign, and then I got to the point where it's like it became clear that this is kind of the direction where things were going, and then that final question of, okay, do you defend her or not? Like, that changes the calculus a little bit, right? But so when Quinn talks about the ability to sort of build your own game based off of this format, I think there's a lot of potential there to very easily like put something together that suddenly becomes a campaign opener.
I think I did want to expand on your comment about this being a good lesson in how to GM, because I'm not sure that I directly agree with that. Let me put it this way. Okay, so and it's only because there's a great deal of diversity in how people run games, and a lot of times finding a GM is like finding any other kind of relationship, finding a therapist or finding a boyfriend or girlfriend or significant other or whatever, someone that you want in your life and in your business a lot, you got to find the right person for that. Someone who, I'm not going to go deep on it's a good relationship. So this, I think, would be a good game, especially because in this game, all of us were the GMs, more or less. We're all natural GMs. We all obviously are storytellers and like a certain style of GMing, and it meshes really well. Which this was delightful. Thank you for that. But at the same time, I think this would be a good game to let you know what kind of GM that you want to be. So if you start playing this game and you're like, oh, this is really cool, I want to do more of this, this is really interesting. I mean, this would be a good way to expand on those skills and to develop them. But if you start playing this and you're like, this is boring and annoying, and you have to make a bunch of decisions that don't matter because the game's only going to last for an hour, so who cares what happened to these characters? Your level of investment is going to inform a lot more about your GMing and what you want out of that than anything the game's actually going to teach you directly.
Agreed.
Okay, good. I'm glad I love that. Sorry,
all right. So do we have any other thoughts to share, or should we wrap things up and go have a late lunch because it's after 1 o'clock already? So.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you everybody for coming in and playing, and everyone who joined us on chat, and everyone who's going to be listening. And I can't wait to do.
Yeah, I think this was
absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'll totally be Quinn's Huckleberry for running through his game library. I'm here for you, man, for you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And not because I'm starved for social time.
Right.
I would love to continue. I mean, lots of games, and if we ran out, and I have probably some of them myself too. So
yep, I think we've all got plenty of games that we can pull out and do this forever if we want to. But I think it's been fun. I think it's been good. I hope people enjoy this, and I hope that it enriches your D&D play or gives you another option of something to consider. And I hope this first episode went well for people. If you want to let us know how much you loved it, you can email thetomeshow@gmail.com. You can also find it on Twitter at The Tome Show. And if you want to reach out to me specifically, I am at Squatch, SQUACH. And why doesn't everybody else give their contact info?
Sure. You can find me on Twitter, QH_Murphy.
You can find me on Twitter at Eric M. Pack, so ERICMPAQ.
You can find me on most social media platforms under J.Sloane, SLOANE, which is just basically my name. So, if you go searching for J.Sloane, you'll probably find me somewhere. But I think I still spend a lot of time on Twitter. I have regrets about that, but here we are. And you know what? Join the Tome Show Discord if you can, because one, it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of talking. There's a lot of game talk. So, if you find yourself jonesing and missing your games, please join the Discord. And it's definitely a lot of easier way to get a hold of any of us, because instead of getting lost in the void of a giant social media conglomerate, it's at least a small little community where you can actually connect with people. And I really like that about it.
And if you want that Discord link, it continues to change every now and then on me, but if you email or tweet at me, then I will look up whatever the current link is and send it out, so you can do that whenever you want. All right, I think that's the end of episode 1 of Side Quests. Do we have any idea what we're going to do next month for Side Quests?
Yeah, Quinn, do it. Quinn.
You're muted. You're...
We've been talking about Microscope some. There's also like Fall of Magic, which is another great one. So like those are like my 2 candidates right now.
So those are the 2 candidates, and I will probably talk about it and hash it out on the Discord. So come join in the conversation, I guess.
Yeah, come participate.
All right.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of gaming conversation.
Okay, that right there was the outro theme song. So thank you, Jay, and goodbye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye.
And I will stop the recording, and I will stop the stream.